Testing. Testing. Test, hello? Testing. Testing. Hello? Hello? Testing. Testing. Hello? Is this thing on? Hello, users, and welcome to another broadcast. This is the Above It All program. This is the Above It All program. Episode 1776. It's above it. Oh, all right. So this is of the program show just show today is the Above It All program. This is Friday! It's just Friday, everybody. Yeah! Show about the program. There's this is well, it's the show Above It All show. So folks, I'm gonna play with a schedule change. I'm gonna take off tomorrow. Sunday, gonna stream at 10 o'clock. So same time as the weekdays. You know? Gonna stream at 10 on Sunday. And I'm gonna take off next Wednesday. I'm playing around with a schedule in my head of taking off 2 days a week. But I don't necessarily want to do them consecutively. So I think Saturday and Wednesday are going to be what I'm going to... just a demo test. And I also don't feel like doing the 12 p.m. thing anymore. I just, to me, like, having to remember that is frustrating. So, but I'm going to see how that goes, because I am trying to make some time for other projects, which I have fallen behind on. I'm behind. Well, I fell. I was like, "Wah!" You ever see Mad Men? The intro sequence in Mad Men? That was me. Falling behind on my projects. So I'm going to try to take some room off for those, and I'm going to choose Wednesday for that. So Saturday is going to be my fuck you day, and Wednesday is going to be my everything else day. At least next week. I'm going to give it a shot. I kind of did a trial balloon last week, but the balloon popped, and or there's a helium shortage, so there was no actual balloon. But anyway, Friday. It's Friday. Yo, check this out. Max the dog! Max the doggy! Look at this animal! Max, you're covered in snow, you fucker. Look at this. Look at this dog. Oh, come show the class your snow face. Look at this dog. Look at this dog. Can you see the snow? Max. They're all frosty. God damn it, Max. God, this is what I gotta deal with. Every day with this dog. Every goddamn day. Every goddamn day. So anyway, I'm doing a show. It's Friday, everybody. Yeah! This program is the Above It All show. Above It All show. I love just like wondering, like, do people actually watch this shit? Like, motherfucking viewers are like, I'm just sitting back, gotta deal with the autism until we get to the actual program. Like, just any minute now. Any minute now. Any minute, the show will start. That's y'all. Okay, I'm gonna go in my other tab here. Just, you know, see what's going on elsewhere. Is there shows there? Max, you're woofing. Look at this dog, Max. What the fuck? Look at him, Max. Look at you. Are you looking at yourself? Look at this dog. Max, are you okay? Do you need my help? Oh, he's had enough. All right, it's the Above It All program. Yeah. Oh, I'm on my third cup of coffee, folks. Vandal Hearts on PlayStation. There better not be some of that like new and you call everything. I'm talking like, what is Vandal Hearts? It's better be a PS1 game. It is. Oh, this bitch is playing PS1. This is one I haven't heard of. Damn, Retro Boomers, my man over here. Holy shit. I have like, for those of you that don't know, I have like 400 PS1 games. This is part of my collection. I'm still working on this shelf. It's a whip work in progress, but I haven't heard of Vandal Hearts. I gotta look into it. Retro Boomer, you gotta show up when I do like the PS1 show. One of these days. I started a quest a long time ago to play every single PlayStation 1 game. And one of these days, I'm going to go back to that. So, and I'm going to call it the PS1 show. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but I might call it the PS1 show. I don't know. Got to get Retro Boomer to be my co-host on that bitch. But anyway, playing with goddamn fidget toys. Okay, so we're half an hour in. No, we're not. We're 15 minutes in. Yo, I got a knot in my hair. Look at this. Look at this. You see this hair? It just took a shower. Like, look at this. What do I do with this? This is a disaster. Wow. Wow. All right. Are you an American? Well, chances are, if you're watching the Above It All broadcast or this video clip and you don't even know what that means, you are probably an American, but you might not be. Well, either way, it doesn't matter. According to this, most Americans just aren't into their jobs, new Gallup data shows. Are you an American? Do you, when you wake up, are you thinking, God damn, son of a bitch, I got to work again? Because if so, everyone else has the same point of view. Let's check this out, okay. As Americans enter the third year of the pandemic, it's actually the fourth year. I don't know, these dumbass motherfuckers at NBC News. They forgot how to count. The third year as Americans enter was this article written a year ago? It's the fourth fucking year, bro. Whatever. Okay, whatever. Most workers just aren't into their jobs, with nearly 3/4 saying they're either not engaged or are actively disengaged at work, according to a new Gallup poll. The findings, which classify 50% of respondents as not engaged. Only 50%? Really? And another 18% is actively disengaged. I see. Okay, so 15% are just neutral. 18% are like, fuck this, man. That's a lot of cucks, though. I mean, let's talk about the 50% that are not engaged. Like, this is what we call cuck mindset. This is the cuck mindset. Like, you don't really care about it. You're not really that into it. But, like, you're somehow okay with the situation, right? This is the beta mindset. 18% that are actively disengaged. I respect that. You go to work and you're thinking, right? Like, yeah, fuck that job. That job sucks. Right? So maybe if you don't like your job, you're plotting a way to get out. You're going to change course. But 50% just have the cuck mindset. They're like, yeah, I'm a wage slave. And you know what? Whatever. Hey, I'm just saying. I'm sitting here on my stupid ass fucking dumb podcast talking about that. But hey, whatever. As employees increasingly feel their workplaces are abandoning the flexibility and empathy that characterized many pandemic-era workplaces. So we're entering the third year. It's actually the fourth year, and then we're using the past tense on pandemic. I don't what is even going on here? Okay. Quote, when the pandemic first hit, engagement peaked. People feeling their organization cares about their well-being peaked. So there was a really nice response from organizations early on. And since then, it's dropped off significantly. I don't know why I'm giving this guy like the proto-Trump voice. Said Jim Harder, chief scientist. I mean, this guy sounds pretty good. Workplace management, blah, blah, blah. Only 32% of American workers say they were engaged at work the last year. Down from an all-time high of 36% in 2020. Yo. Okay, so they make a big deal about this. Hold the phone here. Hold the phone, okay? Hold the fucking phone. So they make a big deal about the pandemic era, which apparently we're no longer in. They lost count of how many years it's been, by the way. But the pandemic era was so good to workers. And the delta is 4%. Okay, so I love this. Okay. Only 32% of American workers said they were engaged at work last year, down from an all-time high of 36%. Like, that's not an all-time high. I mean, I guess it is, but like I would not use the phrase all-time high. I love, and again, engagement peaked, people feeling their organization. We're talking about a delta of 4% here. All right, Jim Harder, glad I used the Trump voice on you, motherfucker. Engagement peaked? Really? People felt their organization cares about the well-being peaked? I mean, 4%. That's nothing. That's the margin of error, my friends. Like, what is that? Okay. 4%. Okay. Only 32% of Americans said they were engaged at work last year, down from an all-time high of 36% in 2020 and 34% in 2021. The data shows Gallup has been formally tracking employee engagement since 2000, Harder said. And as engagement decreased, the percentage of workers who are actively disengaged increased from 14% in 2020 to 16 to 18. I mean, again, we're talking about a lot of people in the middle with that cuck mindset. They're like, I mean, this is what happens when you have a whole country that's founded on childhood trauma and like neglect and parental abuse, right? Is like you grow up in a country where, you know, spanking is normalized. And I'm not talking about the good kind of spanking, you know. I wish spanking was normalized in that fashion. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it already is. But hey, you know, we grow up in a country where like beating the shit out of kids is a regular thing. The teacher beats the shit out of you. Your parents beat the shit out of you. Your big brother beats the shit out of you, right? Then you go to work. And then your boss is beating the shit out of you, but like, you know, making you work 5 days in a row with no breaks, you know. It's that cuck mindset that we're trained for in this country, to just get wailed on and just like, yeah, whatever, neutral, just doing my thing, man, just living my life. Like, your life fucking sucks. 50% of workers say that they're neutral on engagement. Like, you're just okay with being abused. The default in this country is abusing the shit out of workers. And if you're okay with that, that again is the cuck mindset. You have been trained to be a beta male. Like, you got to break that shit, okay? Like, I'm just saying. Like, I work for myself and I still hate my job. I hate my fucking boss. Ugh. This is why I'm suicidal all the time. Hi, Max. We got a doggy here. Check this out. Look at this. Hi, Max. Look at this. Oh, boy. Where are we? Workers who are actively disengaged are disgruntled and disloyal because most of their workplace needs are unmet, according to Gallup. Oh, shit. The rate of people who classify themselves as not engaged, more recently known as quiet quitters. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. Quiet quitting. What does that mean? Quiet quitting is called you don't give your 2 weeks notice and you just don't show up to work. That's quiet quitting. Doing your job and keeping your job, how is that quiet quitting? Can someone explain to me what the fuck this is? Like, now again, maybe I'm the weird one for knowing how the English language fucking works, but last time I checked, doing your job is not quitting. Quitting is quitting. And if you're quitting and it's quiet, presumably it means you didn't tell anyone that you quit. You stopped showing up to work. You didn't hand in your 2 week notice, whatever the fuck. That's quiet quitting. Quiet quitting is not going to work every day and doing your job. How the fuck is that quiet quitting? You know? Now, they describe it as doing the bare minimum, just getting by. But, like, also known as doing your job. Like, there is no bare minimum when it comes to working a job where you get paid the same every day regardless. Why would you work above and beyond if you get paid the same every day? Now, if someone is working on commission, that's a different situation, but most people don't work in that fashion. So again, the idea that we're going to call going to work and doing your job quiet quitting, I mean, anyone who says that and means that and doesn't understand that this is the dumbest phrase in the history of the planet, I mean, again, I don't even know where to begin. It's just so fucking goddamn stupid. Going to work and doing your job, you're basically quitting. Like, all right. Whew. Down from 52% in 2019. Whoa. These workers are getting some of their workplace needs met, but not very many. And they're more likely to show up to work to do the minimum required and not much else. That's called doing your job. Like, I don't know what the fuck. Like, I'm sorry to harp on this one, but this one, it really, it blows my mind, okay? There is no minimum at work, right? If you want to have a pretend world where there's like a range or a spectrum, right? You have to be willing to pay that range or spectrum. If someone does like 13% more work on one day, they deserve to be paid 13% more, maybe even 15% more. Make it exponential, right? Okay, let me just put it this way. Let me phrase this in a different way. Anyone who goes to work and does anything other than the bare minimum is a loser. They're a loser, okay? Like, you're a loser. You're a weird nerd. You're a loser. You're a drone. You're a zombie. Again, it's the cuck mindset. You love being taken advantage of, and somehow you get off on it. I don't know. Like, seriously. Like, we're talking about a monstrosity of a loser. We're talking about the biggest losers that have ever been showing their faces on planet Earth. You go to work and do extra work for nothing. Like, I give you a bunch of extra labor. I receive nothing. Like, I'm serious. Like, what? Like, that's called being a loser. So anyone who doesn't quote unquote quiet quit is a loser. Fact. I'm sorry. If that triggers you, maybe stop being a fucking loser. I don't know what to tell you, okay? The research firm measures engagement by asking questions about productivity, well-being, workplace environment, and values and opportunities for growth, among others. The new report is based on the average results of random quarterly surveys completed last year by about 15,000 adults employed full-time and part-time, the categories in which workers saw the getting some acid reflux. Alright, where was I? Connection to the mission or purpose of the company, opportunities to learn and grow, clarity of expectations and feelings cared about at work. Healthcare workers were the hardest hit among the 4 types of jobs included in the survey, which also included production, frontline, white-collar, and administrative clerical workers, facing a 7% decrease in engagement and about 6% increase in quiet quitting. Again, there is no such thing as quiet quitting. Like, I'm sorry, that doesn't exist. So anyway, you can read the rest of this. But turns out Americans don't like their jobs. Really, they don't. So, wow. Who'd have fucking thunk? When you go to work for a corporation that doesn't give a fuck about you, you might not give a fuck about them. Is that possible? Like, I mean, why is it, again, chalk this up in the shit that we don't even really need to spend any money tracking kind of category. What the fuck? So you're again, it's that cuck mindset. Okay, so you go to work and someone's beating the shit out of you, right? And you're like, yes, master, please, master. Like, I'm sorry, man. That's the cuck mindset. I don't know what to tell you. You're a loser. You're a loser if you do that. If you are anything but a quote-unquote quiet quitter, which, by the way, doesn't exist, then you're a loser. So there's 2 categories. Quiet quitter and loser. Those are the only 2 categories. So anyway, assuming you're working for someone else. If you're self-employed or if you're, started your own company or organization or whatever, that's a different story. But Jesus fucking goddamn Christ, man. Holy shit. We got a lot of losers in this country. I read this poll and I'm thinking, like, there's like 30% of the workforce that are fucking losers. They're just losers, man. This is why we can't get a general strike going on, because we got too many fucking losers. Hey, whatever. As a former HR director who is involved in all kinds of HR organizations, etc., this is the most bullshit thing I've ever heard. I don't know why I gave you that accent in my little coffee house. I just... Woo! We got Wool Hat Demon in the goddamn. Welcome to the show. We got Anastasia in the goddamn. Who, by the way, unlike some of you other ungrateful asshole cocksuckers, right? Really just hate to be around you. Showed up to my Twitch stream yesterday. If anyone wants to follow me on twitch.tv, boom. Boom. Hit me up. You know what's interesting? The constitutional protection against cruel and unusual punishment. It's a little interesting. Cruel and unusual. Well, it's two words, both of which can be defined in a separate fashion. Unusual is the one that's a little bit harder. How do you gauge whether or not it's usual? Do 30% of people get treated this way? Is that usual? Does it need to be 51% of people to get treated in this way to become usual? That one is up in the air. But cruel, to me, cruel is pretty easily defined. Now, I have an article here. Texas death row inmates sue the state over brutal solitary confinement conditions. Now, solitary confinement has been declared to be torture. It is torture. It meets the definition of torture. Several international agencies have said that. So, if we have a constitutional protection against cruel and unusual punishment, would torture, something that has been defined as torture, not fit the bill as cruel? Can something be torture and not be cruel? Now, it's possible that torture can be usual, right? You know, the unusual thing is a little bit harder to put your hat on, right? It's possible that torture can be normal, right? It's possible it can be usual and therefore not unusual. But it's definitely cruel, and I don't think that's debatable. Class action lawsuit alleges prison authorities are inflicting cruel and unusual punishment in breach of constitutional rights. Now again, they're saying in this instance that solitary confinement is normal, but their specific version of it in these facilities is so bad that it's way worse than anything else. I say all solitary confinement is cruel, right? But again, if they're going even further, then I mean, come on, right? A class action suit has been brought on behalf of the 185 prisoners on death row in Texas, accusing the state of violating the inmates' constitutional rights by holding them in permanent solitary confinement, in some cases, for 20 years. How is that even possible? How do you keep someone in a box for 20 years? Now, I just want to tell you, if you don't know this already, America is a shithole country. America's garbage. Anyone that says that they like America is either an upper class white person or a freak of nature, right? And now, again, those are basically the same thing. But I mean, seriously, we live in a country that's got more incarcerated people than almost every other country on the world, right? I think we have the most out of any country individually, but you can like group up entire continents and we'd still have more than any other continent. It's insane. I mean, it's insane, right? In this country, we have a prison industrial complex. Does anyone ever think about this? Okay, so check this out. Check this out. This is a pretty good scam, all right? I will admit. So you open a prison, for profit. Yeah, a for-profit prison, right? Now, for those of you that skipped history class, or maybe you went to school in America and they didn't teach you this shit, the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution prohibits slavery. You may have heard of it. You know, slavery. It's no longer allowed. You know, stop the presses, breaking news. Except, but for, in the Constitution, they have a little asterisk and a footnote that says, slavery is illegal, but for punishment for a crime that you're convicted of. So, I am an aspiring entrepreneur, and I'm thinking, well, the U.S. Constitution has legalized slavery. Let's set up a for-profit prison and force them to, like, make license plates or whatever the fuck, you know, the cartoons show them do. And then we don't have to pay them because they're slaves. And it's constitutional. Now, again, I would go as far as to say that the 8th Amendment protection from cruel and unusual punishment kind of nullifies the 13th Amendment that allows slavery, right? You know, I mean, hey, I don't know, but hey, whatever. We live in a pretty interesting country, so, you know, our Constitution doesn't really matter. And once again, there is no such thing as law. Like, I want everyone to understand this. Law is made up. It's not a fact of life. It is not a law of physics. Law is made up, right? I can go in someone's house and steal their shit and get away with it as long as I don't get caught. Now, what is being caught? Being caught is enforcement of the law, right? So if there is in the law a protection from cruel and unusual punishment and it never gets enforced, I got news for you. There is no protection against cruel and unusual punishment. It doesn't exist. It's not real, okay? It's made up. They made it up. But it's more made up than any of the other laws that they do enforce, right? So again, I'm a scammer. Entrepreneur. I'm a business person. I'm going to set up a for-profit prison and utilize slavery. But you know what? I'm trying to make some chain prisons, you know, like Pizza Hut. I want a couple more prisons. I want to try to see if I can get some more prisons in the whole, you know, southwestern region of the country. So what do I need to do? I need to hire lobbyists. What is a lobbyist? A lobbyist is someone whose job it is. That's their job. They get paid for this, and that's it. That's their contribution to society. To go to Washington, D.C. and convince politicians, usually with bribes. We just bribe politicians. It's legal. You can hand a politician a check with thousands and thousands of dollars in it, and then they'll change their vote for you. You can just pay them off. Pretty good system, right? So I am an entrepreneur, and I'm starting a for-profit prison chain, right? So I need to hire lobbyists to go buy off some politicians. And what do those politicians do? They change the law so that they can create more crimes out of thin air. They just make shit up. Oh, you're growing something in your garden? Illegal. Sorry, we're going to send you to jail. Oh, you're black? Illegal. Can't be black here. Going to jail. Right? So they just make up a bunch of fake crimes so that there's more people getting sent to jail. And then they're going to go to my for-profit prison where I can force them to work for free. That's a good deal. I don't know, man. I'm saying if I'm an entrepreneur, a budding business person, I'm going to be jumping at the for-profit prison industrial complex. So again, you know, there is no such thing as a protection from cruel and unusual punishment. I'm going to tell you this much. This lawsuit is going to get thrown out. Because even if it got all the way up to the chain of the Supreme Court, they would not rule in favor of these inmates. They wouldn't. So, even though they're right, by every stretch of every definition, they're right. It is cruel. And you can make the argument that being in a box for 20 years straight is unusual for sure. So it's cruel and unusual. That's a fact. You don't really need a lawyer to explain that. It's just a fact. That's like saying this pen is purple. Yeah, being locked in a box for 20 years, that's cruel. That's unusual. This pen is purple, okay? So I don't know what to tell you, but they're still going to lose their case. Why? Because the Supreme Court, check this out. I'm a for-profit entrepreneur. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take some of my profits from the prison industrial complex that I got, and maybe I'll invest in my brother's budding for-profit university system. And so then I'm going to get a nice big piece of this law school. And we're going to send people to this law school where we're in charge of the curriculum, and then these people are going to become lawyers, and then they're going to become judges, and then they're going to decide cases, and they all learned the foundation of their laws from my scam college. And that's how we have the Supreme Court. That's how you have people like Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. So, it's a pretty good deal. I mean, these people, they really got this system on lock. And again, these inmates are correct. And they're still going to get fucked. Because there is no law. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There is no law. It's made up. Law and order is made up. Why do you think cops can kill people? That's not in the Constitution. They just made it up. If you have a protection from cruel and unusual punishment, think about how many times police interact with citizens. Literally, thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of interactions. Right-wingers love this line of logic here. Oh, only 0.1% of police encounters are fatal, or they end up killing someone. Great argument, right? That, to me, sounds like it would meet the bill for unusual punishment. So, I'm just looking at the right-wingers in their profound use of logic in this instance. Wow, really? Only 0.01% of police encounters end up with a dead person? Sounds unusual. It sounds like that's something that's very unusual, which would mean that it's illegal under the Constitution, which would mean if they're killing them in a very unusual fashion, it's a very unusual encounter with a police officer, according to right-wingers, right? Very unusual to be killed when interacting with a cop, so therefore it's unconstitutional. So therefore, if you violate the Constitution, you go to jail, right? Wrong. 98% of the time, when police kill someone, which as established is unusual, they don't even get charged. They don't even get charged. Again, think about that. They don't even get charged. It's not that they pretend that the system is legitimate and they'll charge them, but then they'll rig the jury or whatever so that they're always getting, found innocent every single time, right? They don't do that. They just don't even bother. They don't even bother charging them in the first place. I have a question. If I killed someone, but let's say it was in self-defense, right? But let's imagine this, right? There's two camera feeds. One of them is like a CCTV camera. It shows me walking up to someone and shooting them. Looks pretty cold cut, right? Case cut. I'm guilty. I killed that motherfucker. Right? But then there's another camera feed that my lawyer has access to that shows that person was holding my mother hostage and I killed them to save my mother. And now it's self-defense. That's a whole different case, right? So, but if I killed that person, I would go to the court system and have to go through a trial, and then maybe I'll be determined to be innocent, hopefully, right? But that would be the law and the system functioning. There would be a process that happens. But the cops, they don't even bother. They don't even bother. And again, the law is irrelevant. They don't even fucking bother. They don't even bother with the sham trial, which, by the way, they would probably benefit from because you can just get paid vacation while you deal with the court case, right? So they could probably benefit from it, but they just don't even bother to make it look like the system was working at all. That's how fucked up it is. That's how fucked up it is. Right? So anyway, let's just keep reading this. The state's prison authorities are alleged to be inflicting cruel and unusual punishment on the men in breach of their Eighth Amendment, in breach of the Eighth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. The lawsuit describes how the prisoners are held in devastating conditions and isolation for up to 23 years without pause. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. With almost 80% of death row occupants having been in solitary for more than 10 years. Quote, the conditions on death row in Texas have been characterized as the most brutal death row conditions in the country. The plaintiffs are seeking relief from conditions that have been described as torture, said Pieter van Tol of the global law firm Hogan Lovells, which filed the suit on behalf of the men in federal court in Houston on Thursday. Texas is facing mounting challenges to its widespread use of solitary confinement. The state currently houses more than 3,000 prisoners in solitary. Blah, blah, blah. So again, you can read the rest of this, but it just goes into the torturous conditions, which I feel like I've covered, how these prisons are both cruel and unusual in a lot of instances. But again, what ultimately matters here is the lawyers have it's a game, set, match case, right? Again, it's like arguing that this pen is purple. Like, no shit, the pen is purple. Look at it, you know? It's like arguing that the sky is blue, right? There's no possible way you will lose unless the game is rigged. But I got news. The game is rigged. They rigged it. It's a fucked up game, right? So, you know, let's say the game asks you, what color is this pen? You click purple. It says, eh. The pen is actually rainbow. Right? So, you know, obviously, you know, all the power to the lawyers, and I hope that they can get at least some temporary, during the appealing process, right, some temporary relief, at the very least. But, of course, they will lose. Nothing will happen, and nothing will save these people, and more people are going to be put into these systems, and they're just going to keep happening because no one else cares. No one in America gives a fuck about any of this because Americans are stupid, lazy zombies that only care about an issue when it's too late after it's affected them and only them, right? You know, something happens to a family member, who cares? Something happens to me, oh, and then they go around screaming, and then guess what? No one cares, just like they didn't care when someone else came screaming to them. That's America. Law and order. All right, sure, if you say so, my friend. So anyway, hopefully that segment was pretty good. That's my one news story that actually matters. Maybe I'll do another one. I don't know. Not sure. But, playing with my fidget toy. I'm fidgety. Everybody, if you have yet to do so, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If anyone knows how to put me in contact with her, I'd be down. Anastasia. Like, does she have open DMs or some shit? Does she have an email? I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, she's great. All right, let's jump. I know. Are you ready for this? I know. You might not be, but I don't care if you are or not. Let's drink some coffee. I'm going to start like every segment from now on with like 15 seconds of drinking coffee just so I don't have to curse, you know, for the YouTube guidelines. Every video from now on is just going to be like 15 seconds of, you know, because otherwise it just slips out. I can't help myself. Okay. Let's talk about long COVID, everybody. Long COVID. I know. If you're 83% of Americans who become anti-vaxxers, you're rolling your eyes. Again? People are talking about COVID again? It's almost like, you know, can you believe that someone's talking about the rain? You know, it's almost like it keeps raining. Like, I don't like the rain. I don't want to hear about it. And yet, people keep talking about it. It's interesting. It's an interesting concept. But anyway, let's talk about long COVID. Long COVID could be longer and more severe than we thought, study finds. Lingering symptoms of the disease affects 10% of patients, researchers say. Data shows that long COVID symptoms can last more than a year. It is estimated that tens of millions of people worldwide are suffering with symptoms that have come to be known as long COVID. I have a question. Because some people really don't understand how long COVID works. So here's a thought experiment for you that if you need help with that, okay? And I have a pen as a prop now so that I can use it, and I go like this and I seem like I'm more intelligent because I got a pen, like, I don't know, that? And then I click it. Anyway, imagine you're in an apartment building and someone on the third floor, you live on the fifth floor, right? Someone on the third floor's stove explodes and there's a fire. And it's, 3 a.m. They were trying to make some nachos. They've, something happened. Boom. The whole apartment building's on fire. Now, let's say you escape the fire. You don't die. You escape the fire. But you got some third-degree burns all over your body. Now, I have a question for you. You escaped the fire, right? You're alive, right? Does that mean that you're perfectly normal? If you're an American, you would say yes. The only thing is either you're dead or you're alive. Because that's how Americans have talked about COVID. Why? Because Americans are fucking stupid, okay? And people in the world in general. It's not just Americans. There's a lot of dumb motherfuckers out there. But again, you survived the apartment fire. You're going to have to be dealing with those third-degree burns for a long time, maybe even the rest of your life, right? So now imagine that instead of a fire, it is a virus that tears you apart from the inside. Now again, you're not dead. You are still technically alive, but you're still dealing with the situation. And one of the things about COVID, which I have not gotten COVID. I refuse. When this pandemic started, I made the decision. I refuse. I'm going to do whatever I need to do. Stay home as long as I need to. I'm not getting COVID. I refuse. I said no. And I know that I am at this point, it's like a 5% of Americans have never gotten it or some shit. It's crazy. Anyway, yes, look at me. Anyway, I don't know what the actual number is. But again, when you get COVID, the idea that you can recover from COVID is kind of made up. I mean, I'm not saying that you're going to be, if you get COVID, you have COVID for the rest of your life. But what I'm saying is the idea that when the first 3 or 4 days of symptoms pass, that means you're recovered doesn't make any sense, right? Because you can have COVID and be asymptomatic and then develop long COVID. I'm going to read this article in a second here. I just got to give everyone a primer because this is a very interesting subject matter that a lot of people are dumb on. Right. So, you ever cut yourself or something, or you get a blister and then your blister pops and then you get a scab, right? And then the scab, it looks like it's ready to come off, but then you rip the scab off. Does anyone ever play with scabs? I did it once and now I don't do it anymore. I did it as a kid and it freaked me out because I started bleeding. But anyway, so you play with the scab. You think the scab is you think you can just rip it off. You're pretty much good to go. But wait, you rip it off. There's a little bit of blood in the middle. It wasn't fully healed. Well, that's what happens when you go back to work. When your symptoms have resolved from COVID, is that your body is actually not done fighting COVID. It's maybe done with the bulk of fighting COVID. It's maybe done with the hardest part of fighting COVID, but it's not done. And so when you go to work too early, you risk damaging your body, right? But again, we live in America. If you don't go to work, you get fired. And if you don't have a job, then you lose your house. And if you don't have a house, then you have to live on the street. If you live on the street, you're probably going to catch COVID again and then die. So gotta go to work, right, America? Anyway, let's get to this article. According to a new study by a group of researchers from the United States, the impact of long COVID or post-COVID conditions may be more severe than previously thought. In a review of 200 studies published in the peer-reviewed journal Nature Reviews Microbiology on January 13. So this is like a meta-level review of other reviews, of other studies. The team called for more research and care for patients with long COVID symptoms, adding that there were not enough existing research to properly understand or treat the condition. The review was carried out by 2 researchers from the Patient-Led Research Collaborative and 2 other researchers from the Scripps Research Translation in La Jolla, California. They estimated that 10% of the 651 million documented COVID-19 cases around the world, at least 65 million people have long COVID. They quoted other studies suggesting that 10 to 30% of non-hospitalized coronavirus cases would develop long COVID. The percentage increased from 50 to 70% for hospitalized cases. Now, I don't know about you, but that's fucking scary. I don't know about you. Hey, maybe I'm the weird one. But a 10 to 30% chance. Now, again, this is a review of hundreds of studies. So that's why it's, that's the range. Some studies say 15%. Some studies say 25%, right? So that's why it says 10 to 30. But like at 10% is a little too high, for me to risk that. 30%, I don't know. But also, how do you even know if you're going to end up in the hospital? You might be thinking, oh, I'm healthy. I probably won't be hospitalized. That puts your risk low. But what if you end up getting hospitalized? What if you have an underlying condition you didn't know about? Did you know that 95% of Americans don't eat fruits or vegetables? Now, what I mean by that is 95% of Americans don't eat fiber. What is fiber? Fruits and vegetables, all right? Nuts, other stuff like that. They don't eat fiber. And what that has resulted in is 93%, there is a 2% delta, 93, margin of error, 93% of Americans have chronic metabolic dysfunction. They are basically just sick at a low level all the time. And when you have metabolic dysfunction, that can lead to inflammation. Inflammation can trigger and weaken your immune system. So when 93% of the country has a low level amount of inflammation just happening a lot, and your immune system is weakened, and there's a pandemic, no good. No good. But has Anthony Fauci been talking about people eating fruits and vegetables to protect against COVID? I'm just wondering. And of course, you need multiple layers. You don't want to get COVID in the first place. Wear a mask. Right? If you do get COVID, you want your body to be ready for it. That's called get a vaccine. But that doesn't mean you stop there, right? You want your body not only to know how to fight the virus from the vaccine, but you want your body to stockpile arms. You want your body to be working out every day, to be tip-top soldiers. Because if COVID comes in, they want to be tip-top soldiers. They want to have like fucking think about like Arnold Schwarzenegger in like Predator or some shit. Like he's like, oh. But then also, you want them to have the blueprints for how to fight the virus. So, masking, don't get the fucking virus in the first place. Vaccine, tell your fucking goddamn immune system how to beat the guys. And then food, treating your body well via nutrition and diet, is training your body so that when the virus comes in, if it does, if you somehow get unlucky enough while masking that you somehow get the virus anyway, which can happen, though it's severely less likely, right, that you are as protected as possible. But 93% of Americans are not like that, and so it's resulted in a situation where there's a lot of people that are just fucked up. So just think about that. Let's keep going. However, the study did not clarify the definition of long COVID, and some of the findings contradicted those of previous studies. Now, again, this is the problem with long COVID, is it's not really a medical term. right? It's kind of like a cluster of a bunch of different symptoms. And, a lot of people, it's like imagine like Venn diagrams, right? But you have like a bunch of different Venn diagrams. So it's not just the 2 circles. It's not just the 3 circles. It's like, it's like 9 circles, right? And then so whatever in the middle portions are, that would be long COVID. But, some people experience. So that's why defining long COVID is difficult. It's also just, again, to put it bluntly, we still really don't know what the effects of long-term exposure to this kind of virus is on the human body. We just don't know. And that's not something you can find out in 4 years or 5 years. It might take until 2030 before we truly understand how COVID affected our bodies. It might be 2040. Who knows? I say this. Don't get it in the first place. That's what I say. Drinking some water here. Gotta lubricate the esophageal region. According to the World Health Organization, PCC, post-COVID, whatever. What is it? Like post-COVID something. Conditions. Yeah, I think that's probably a better name, but it's probably not going to stick. Post-COVID conditions or long COVID is defined as the continuation or development of symptoms that are present 3 months after a SARS-CoV-2 infection, with symptoms lasting for at least 2 months that cannot be explained through any other diagnosis. Common symptoms include fatigue, shortness of breath, cognitive dysfunction, which may fluctuate or relapse over time. In an earlier study, now again, I also want to look at diet on this one again, because all of these articles, I'm a little bit of a wellness person now, but not one of those like, freaky ones, but still, like, we got to talk about diet here. What can fluctuate in 3 months? You get COVID. You don't want to cook anymore. Let's say you were someone that takes their diet seriously, but you just don't have the energy to cook. You might be more likely to get less quality food, more likely to get delivery, more likely to get fast food, frozen meals. Then your body, not only are you getting destroyed from fighting COVID, but you're not getting proper nutrients in your system because you can't actually cook because you're disabled now and no one can cook for you in the house that you live in, or maybe you live by yourself, whatever. And so months down the line, maybe you slightly recover from COVID and you could start taking your own meals in your hands again, but maybe something else happens. You skip a couple weeks of good nutrition, and then all of a sudden, COVID, you're starting, got some joint pain. Again, all of this stuff is connected. When we live in a country that's as chronically sick as America, it's all an important conversation. We cannot talk about COVID without talking about the American diet, the Western diet. Those are inextricably linked. Like talking about climate change and water quality. You can't talk about one without talking about the other. When 93% of the country is sick all the time, pretty much with a low level of sickness, and then a plague comes in, and it's weird that nobody, not a single body, maybe a couple bodies, I don't know. But in mainstream press, they don't talk about that. Do you see that? Does Tony Fauci talk about using food as a preventative? You see a couple of anti-vaxxers talk about it, but again, they're anti-vaxxers, so they don't really understand what the fuck's going on. Or they think food alone can stop a problem like this instead of masking or vaccinating. Again, dumb motherfuckers, right? So there's just a gigantic vacuum in this country. No one knows about any of this shit. And most of the sources for this stuff are cringy weirdos. So, this is why I say, America, it's over. The dominoes are falling. 2019, you could debate, that we're still setting up the dominoes. But once COVID has come, the dominoes have started falling, and they're just going to keep falling, right? It's like the house of cards. Once the house of cards starts to collapse, you can't save it. It's just not going to, It's one of those things that's very precarious. Once it happens, it's like Jenga, right? When you pull that last block and it starts to fall, there's no amount of you can do to bring the tower back up. America poisoned its entire population for decades, since the 1960s and 70s with the advent of processed food, frozen food, fast food, right? America has been poisoning its constituents for 50, 60 years. And then a plague comes. It's over. It's already over, right? There's no one in the media that's talking about the actual ways to help things. It's all scapegoats. It's all putting all of your hope in one different thing, right? Everyone's clinging to their own conspiracy theories. You see anti-vaxxers taking horse dewormers, right? You see people washing their fruits with fucking bleach, you know? It's over. It's over. This is what I say, and I've already said this, is that America overplayed its hand. The combination of the massive cuts to education in this country, right? No one, if you go to school, you are trained to be dumb. You are not learning in school. You are not opening your mind in school. You are shutting your mind. You're just learning a very rigid definition of the world, and you are closing off your imagination and your ability to learn any more things. That's what schools are. They have been making people dumber for decades. They've been making people fucking stupid forever, as long as I've been alive. 26 for context. They've been making people dumb for a long time. So you combine people are dumb, the food that is fed to us in this country, most of the food is poisoned. Sugar is poison. It poisons your body. There is no need to consume sugar. It's poison. It's a poison. Alcohol is also a poison. That doesn't mean you can't have it every once in a while. But if you're drinking half a handle of vodka every day, you got a problem. The average American in the United States of America consumes 70 grams of sugar every day. 70 grams of sugar every day. The average American consumes 70 grams of sugar. That's poison. They're alcoholics. But if you ask the average American, are you an alcoholic? They're going to say no, because they don't drink alcohol that much, but they eat sugar that much. What is alcohol, by the way? It's sugar. I don't know if you knew that. Alcohol is sugar that's fermented by certain kinds of other species like, bacteria, yeast, whatever, right? So you have a country that is essentially, we're all alcoholics and we're pouring sugar down our gullets every day. We're chronically sick and poisoned. We're also extremely fucking stupid. Okay? We're also really fucking stupid as a country because of our slashes to education. And then here comes the plague. It's already over. I'm telling you all right now. It's over. Don't try stopping the ship. We are rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. Okay? The Great Reset, whatever conspiracy you want to believe, it's already happening and you can't stop it. All right? There's going to be a lot of people dying, and we're not going to know why until it's too late. The American life expectancy dropped by like 4 years, which is already historically, globally, really low already. America had a very low life expectancy compared to the rest of the world. And now it's dropping at an accelerated rate. So again, I try to historicize and put all the context together when I talk about long COVID, because we don't really know what the fuck's going on here. And it's going to be a while until we do. So why are we going out and getting COVID every other fucking day? Why are people still working in person? Why are people doing stupid social events like concerts? Why are people doing parties? Why are people going to schools that are open with no ventilation? Why are people having weddings? Why are people doing family reunions? Why are people having big funerals? Because they're all fucking stupid. Americans are dumb motherfuckers. They were born and bred and trained to be dumb motherfuckers. And I believe that America overplayed its hand. Now, I know the capitalist class, the billionaires, they are hoping that automation, robotics, and AI will replace the workforce. You are being replaced. I'm sorry. You're getting replaced. Your job, whatever it is expendable, and so are you. Not just is your job expendable, but so are you. The capitalist class is committing a genocide. Why do you think Joe Biden said the pandemic was over right before the worst winter that we've ever had? Why? Because he doesn't give a fuck about you. And neither does Trump. Neither does any politician. They got bought and paid off a long time ago. So once again, it's already game, set, match for America. It's over. We are all rearranging the chairs on the Titanic, and everyone is lost. Everyone is lost. You know, you ever play Silent Hill 2? Anyone ever play it? I got it right here. I'm going to show it on stream because I love this game. You ever play this game, Silent Hill 2? It's a great game. Okay. So in this game, there's a portion of the game where you're on a lake and you're in a boat. And there's like, you know, there's mist everywhere. There's fog everywhere. It's a great game. You got to play it, right? And you don't know where you go. You're trapped. You're on this boat in a fog world. You can't see like in front of you. And you don't know where the fuck you're going. Well, that's us. Everyone in this country is lost in a boat in a fog world. And they don't know what direction is which. They're stuck. And no one's going to save them. I can't save them. I'm not qualified to do anything. I'm just some stupid bitch that reads all day, right? I'm in no position to save people. I can hope that someone might listen to a video I make, might read something I've written, and then go like, maybe I'm going to look into this, and maybe they can, you know, start themselves on a path or whatever. That's great. But let's be honest. As a society, as a general culture, it's already over. I want to read more of this. About 43% of patients who were admitted to intensive care units developed long COVID compared to 27.5% of those who were admitted to general hospital wards and 5.7% of those who were not hospitalized. I also want to say this much. How many people have a form of long COVID in America but aren't going to the doctor to talk about it? Why? Because it costs money. Let's say someone has COVID 4 months later. You know, they just have some short-term memory issues. You know, fuck. Ugh. But it's not like they're bleeding. It's not like they're going to die, right? So they don't want to go to the doctor. They never tell anyone that they don't even really know it's long COVID. How many? So my opinion is that long COVID cases are undercounted, especially in America. When it costs money to even get an examination, not to mention, like, the examination isn't even going to help you treat the issue. It's just to identify what the issue might be. That costs a fuckload of money. Most Americans don't have that money, and most Americans don't have health insurance that would pay for that. The study was published in the Journal of American Medicine Association in October 22. This one. Theo Vos, an epidemiologist at the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation in the University of Washington in Seattle, also is a corresponding author of the JAMA study, said compared with his findings, the proportion of people with long COVID quoted in the new article was considerably higher, which may partly be a definitional issue since his team concentrated on the main symptom clusters. Quote, more likely is that most of the studies quoted just report symptoms after COVID infection and do not take into account that many of the long COVID-related symptoms are commonly reported even without COVID infection. People can get COVID, test for it at home, not go to the doctor, not get hospitalized. They might not tell their doctor when they go in 8 months later that they had COVID, right? It's hard to know. We're a population that was already chronically ill, chronically sick, and we're just getting sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. And we also can't go get help without paying thousands of dollars for it. He added that with the Omicron variant, the risk of long COVID was between half and a third of what it was compared to earlier variants, and recent vaccinations helped to lower the risk. Now, again, recent vaccinations. 17% of America got the recent vaccine, which means 83% of America refused it. Why? Because the anti-vaxxers won. The anti-vaxxers are 83% of Americans. Think of another issue, by the way. Just think of another issue, any political issue, where 83% of Americans are in agreement. I mean, legal weed is only getting like 70%. But free healthcare? Free. It's free. Free. Free healthcare. Only 17% of the country, when push came to shove, bothered to sign up for free healthcare. Think about that. 83% of the country was like, free healthcare? I'm gonna go watch some Netflix, bro. One study finds that 85% of patients who had symptoms 2 months after the initial infection reported symptoms 1 year after the symptom onset. So if you're still having symptoms 2 months after getting COVID, buckle up, in other words, because there's an 85% chance you're still going to be in that situation a year later. So if you're thinking, I had COVID 2 months ago and I've been feeling weird ever since, start eating fruits and vegetables, motherfucker. Start taking care of your diet, motherfucker. Start taking 10-hour sleep sessions, motherfucker. Because if you don't, you're not going to have a good time. It added that though future prognoses were uncertain, conditions known as ME or CFS, a multisystem neuroimmune illness, and dysautonomia, a disorder of the autonomic nervous system, were generally lifelong. So again, we don't know about COVID in particular, but there's a lot of crossover with long COVID and other diseases that just last forever. Cause for concern. Cause for concern if you don't... if you want to hear my opinion, I'm a little concerned about that. Voss said that the recovery time of long COVID quoted in the new study was contrary to his analysis, which indicated that by 1 year, 85% of people would have recovered. Did I read that incorrectly? Okay, so that's just, I gotta look into that one. 85% of people have recovered, unless this is just referencing different things. I'm not sure, but this is written poorly here. But okay. This sort of selective reporting on long COVID with exaggerated estimates does not help, he said. It is making quite a lot of policymakers skeptical. While long COVID is a serious condition affecting many individuals who are in need of supportive care as long as there are no clear treatments. I'm not sure what this guy's angle is. To ensure an adequate response to the long COVID crisis, the authors said more comprehensive research, public communication campaigns, and policies and funding support were needed. We need research that builds on existing knowledge and is inclusive of patient experience, training, and education for the healthcare and research workforce. Now, in a country that actually gave a fuck, by the way, first of all, we would have already had a universal college scenario, but, whatever. But let's assume we still want to live in the hyper-capitalism world that we live in, the dystopia, and we actually wanted to treat COVID as a serious concern. What we would do is fund free grants for medical school. How long does medical school take? Like a decade. Right? A long time. You got to go to medical school before you become like a full-fledged doctor. So we should have started that shit 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we should have started that shit. We haven't even started it. And also, less people are going to medical school. Yikes. And also, a lot of people are leaving the healthcare industry because it's too traumatizing. Not good. And also, again, we don't have any money. The United States is putting up almost no money into this. A lot of this information, a lot of these studies are done outside the United States in countries that do have some form of universal healthcare system. That's where a lot of our information is coming. But again, we don't really know. We don't really know. And that's the thing about it. When I don't know something, you know what I do? I wait until I have the information and then make my decision on whether or not I'm going to proceed. So I don't know how COVID affects the body. Therefore, I'm not going to get COVID if I can help it. Now, I know I'm one of the last people on the planet that hasn't gotten COVID by now. Again, I spend 99% of my time at home. I've got that privilege. I accept that privilege. I acknowledge that privilege. And I'm going to use that privilege. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I don't know how. But I'm able to make just enough money to get by without leaving the house. And that's a win for me. And I value my health more than I value money. I could have another job. I could have a couple other jobs and leave the house and make a lot of money. I could. And I could spend that money on toys and video games. I could. I could spend that money going to restaurants and eating out. Hitting up the club. But I'm not, because I value my health more than I value that stupid ass garbage. I don't care about money. Money to me is a binary. Do I have enough money to live? If so, I'm done. I don't give a shit. That's my opinion on money. I wish more people had that opinion. But I have chosen that I value my health more than I value money. I could make a lot more money. I could get another job. I could start grifting on my YouTube show. You know, I could just beg my current audience for more money. I don't need to at the moment, so why? Because I don't care. I don't care about that shit. I care about my health. That's it. That's all I care about. That's the only thing that matters. People really need to reassess their lives. If you care about money more than you care about your health, I don't know, man. So anyway, I just wanted to do a long COVID segment. It's very inconclusive is the point of this segment, is we don't really know. We don't really know. That's the whole point of this statement. That's the whole point of this segment. That's the whole point of this study. That's the whole point of this meta review, is that we don't really know what's going on. All we do know is that it doesn't look good. That we do know. It does not look good. But it'll probably be a while before we have more actual definitive information on this stuff. It might even be, it might be by 2030 we know what's going on with long COVID. So, there you go. I hope you enjoyed my 90-year-long COVID segment. How long was that one? I don't even know. But yeah, I don't know, man. Just be careful, everybody. We live in a shithole country with a shithole culture, with shithole people. It's a zombie apocalypse. Just imagine it. You know, this is a little bit of a pseudo-speciation trick for y'all. Just imagine we're living in a zombie apocalypse. You know, a They Live scenario. They're all aliens. They're all zombies. They're all freaks. And we just got to navigate that reality. Most Americans, they just don't give a fuck. They just don't give a fuck. Because they were born, bred, and raised, and trained by this country to not give a fuck. And so can you really be surprised when they're still in the Matrix, if you will? They're still eating Burger King? Can you be surprised? They're still eating Wendy's? They're still going to the frozen food aisle? Can you really be surprised? I mean, that's been taught to them their whole lives. But hey, whatever. Anyway, that's the show for today. I got a couple other things I could talk about, but eh. Oh, motherfuckers. It's Friday. Talk about the woman that sent crap to Donald Trump from Ontario. Sounds good. So I'm not doing a show tomorrow. I'm doing a show on Sunday at 10 a.m. I said this before, but I want to play around with a new schedule. And I want to take 2 days off a week, but I don't want them to be contiguous at this moment in time. And that's open to change. So I want to take Sunday and Wednesday, or Saturday and Wednesday off. And I want to do 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern every day that I do a show. I don't like the afternoon Sunday. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people like it. And maybe I'll return. Feel free to bully me if it's, feel free to make your opinion known. But at this point in time, for me, I just want to stick it at 10 for now. And I'm open to changing it. I'm a very amenable person, right? So a couple weeks down the line, I might change it again. But for right now, that's going to be what I want to do. So I'm not doing a show tomorrow. I will be doing Sunday at 10. It's just easier for me. And I'm valuing my mental health over everyone else, at least temporarily. So, there you go. Eat that! Check this out. Are you seeing this shit? Hey, Maxie. Hey, Max. Hey, Maxie. Hi. Hi. That's the Max the Dog. I'm thinking about doing Max the Dog shorts on YouTube.com. I'm not sure yet when I'm going to start that. But this really is my favorite show on YouTube. Well, that's why I got to do less shows. Because Sandy is fucking addicted. So, got to do less. Man. That's it. That's the program, really. QCock, questions, comments, or concerns? Yeah! If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know. Because if you don't talk now, then maybe I'll never do QCock again. And you never have another chance. Think about that, Jack. Think about that, Jack. We got this like Dutch angle going on here. Feel free to share a GoFundMe. I don't know if I have links enabled though. So use like a space in between the period of the .com or whatever. The last movie I watched, I think it was The Prestige, which I should do a big review of, but that was a brilliant film. Christopher Nolan, but an older Nolan pick. Thomas Crapper. The Floating Ball Cock? Now that's amazing. M3 GAN? People have recommended that to me. I gotta look into it. Anyway, though, that's the show for today. Thank you all for watching. I've been trying to, I don't know what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to do something, but I don't really know how to put it into words. So, just going off of vibes.